Hey, so I want to follow up on Starbucks. Last time we looked at them was June 8th, so it's been about a month and a half since we checked in on them. We're just going to go through some news articles that we came across during that period just to see what's been going on there. Then we'll pivot into the technical analysis just to see if we have an updated buy price or if there's any resistance coming, just in terms of technical. So uh, let's get into this and just see what's been going on. So again, starting back from about June 8th and moving forward. So to start off, we have Starbucks shareholders are seeking input on labor rights review under increasing scrutiny for its treatment of unionized employees. So this is a big topic that's going to come up throughout this whole uh, month and a half period. Um, so, as we go through, we'll touch on it. But next, we have a buyer of former Starbucks assets in Russia says he paid about $6 million. So, uh, the way it kind of sounds to me is we also have this little snippet here that Starbucks had about 130 stores in Russia, and someone, it looks like this Anton Pinsky, paid about $6 million. Uh, the way it reads, it made it sound like they paid $6 million for all 130 stores. I'm not sure if they just were generalizing here, but the point is they made a great deal. That I mean, it sounds like a great deal on paper or just like reading it, uh, but of course, you know, wow, it just sounds like a really good deal. Um, Starbucks probably took a big loss on that. But yeah, we'll just keep moving on. Next, we had Starbucks was ordered to pay $25 million to an ex manager who claimed she was fired for being white. So this was a case where, there was this manager, this white manager, who apparently a couple uh, black people came in, and I guess they didn't order something. They asked to use the bathroom, but because they didn't order something, this manager said, "You can't just hang out here." And police were involved. The black people that showed up were uh, they filed a lawsuit. They won. They didn't win much money, but they used it as like a platform to say, "Hey, we need to kind of work together here." But this white manager who claims that uh, once this all went down, Starbucks had like a uniform 1 day off for this city and I guess this region where this manager worked, because this manager was in charge of many stores in like the Philadelphia region, in New Jersey, maybe even into like Maryland, many stores. And apparently she was saying that Starbucks did this tactic and they were targeting white employees only, not the ethnic managers, whatever they were, but specifically the white managers and employees in terms of training, uh, being like more diverse or accepting of different cultures or something. And well, she apparently won this case for $25 million. She was fired from Starbucks, and as I mentioned, I mean, she was manager of like over 100 stores. So, 25 million really is not that much to Starbucks, but and I don't know how much money that manager was making, but 25 million. That's so she won. I mean, her claim was, I guess, true in this case. But let's keep going on. So Starbucks, they opened a, or they're planning on opening a sustainability learning and innovation lab in Costa Rica. This will probably take a couple years for it to actually like fully open, but uh, the way it reads is they just want to educate more people on just how they can continue growing as a business in terms of from the growth stage, in terms of their product, their coffee, all the way up to shipment and possibly like running a store. But it's more the cultivation aspect. to the shipping, it sounds like. So that's a new development. Next, we have Starbucks declares a quarterly cash dividend, about 53 cents. Next, we have Starbucks workers at over 150 stores go on strike over Pride decor dispute. More than 3,000 workers at over 150 Starbucks stores in the United States will walk off the job over the next week, following claims that the company had banned Pride Month decorations at some of its cafes. The strikes are also aimed at pushing the company to reach fair labor contracts. So this one is like it's dual purpose. It sounds like um, it of course didn't go into the specifics of uh, what all the 150 stores were, which ones were unionized and whatnot. But clearly there was two problems here. There was a bunch of stores wanted to celebrate Pride and have decorations, and apparently at 150 of these stores, the managers at those locations were like, "No, we're not doing that." And well, there was backlash for that. And then, of course, you have the whole labor issue. So I have to imagine some of these stores were unionized. Not sure again how much percentage wise that was, but clearly there must have been a couple of them, and so they're using this as a uh, hey, let's get that labor contract moving along here. Uh, so yeah, that was kind of a big deal. So next, Starbucks kind of responds here. Starbucks to issue clear decor rules after the Pride Month clash with the union. We intend to issue clear, centralized guidelines for in-store visual displays and decorations that will continue to represent inclusivity and our brand. So I I'm sure they had some sort of decor rules, but there was some flexibility. Well, now it's going to be a little more strict. So in terms of Pride specific, I'm sure they're going to have some sort of Starbucks specific decorations that stores can have for that. Um, so it's more just they're tightening the flexibility there. But they came up with a solution. I guess we'll find out next year how this kind of pans out. Uh, Continuing on with the labor here, the U.S. Labor Agency is suing Starbucks over treatment of Seattle workers. This one specifically is over the coffee chain's refusal to rehire 33 workers as it reorganized three downtown Seattle stores. Uh, so I guess just to add some color to that, uh, yeah, they with the with them reorganizing some stores, uh, I guess they had to temporarily lay off some people, and before they rehired them, I guess because there was some sort of union connection with some of these people, they wanted them to like reapply, and it wasn't a guaranteed, hey, we're going to hire you back. And so that was like an issue for this labor agency. We'll see what's the result there. Uh, shouldn't be, well, I guess I'll reserve judgment. We'll see how that plays out. Next, we have Starbucks is illegally shutting down unionized New York stores. Apparently, they violated federal labor law when it shut down a unionized store in Ithaca, New York. So, kind of a similar situation, or it's under the same umbrella here. So apparently, there's like three Starbucks stores in Ithaca, New York, right around like a college campus, and all three of them are unionized. Starbucks is kind of against that. I believe I'm not sure if I actually highlight it in this, but in one of these articles it mentions how Starbucks has like 9,000 stores and about 300 between 3 and 400 of them are unionized now, and three of them happen to be in this Ithaca, New York. So what happened there is, I guess when Starbucks found this out, and there might be more to the story that the article just doesn't go into in terms of maybe these stores were losing money and they just weren't profitable. It could be that simple, but the way the article is presenting it, uh, this was a clear attack against the union in that these stores were probably running fine, and Starbucks just said, no, we're just going to close that one. And apparently they're also going to close down the other two, which that kind of sounds like it's crossing the line here. Uh, so we'll see how that one plays out. Uh, Kind of bad news, but nothing's like crazy bad in terms of hitting their financials, but these lawsuits could build up and potentially be very costly down the road. So we're going to pay attention to that. Another one, we have workers at Elliott City Starbucks vote to unionize, becoming the seventh store in Maryland to do so. So just another union kind of coming together. Uh, Next, we have Starbucks union wants to enlist customers to organize pickets. So I'm I'm still a little fuzzy on the details, so if you know more about this, by all means share it. It'd be very helpful to me. But the way I understand it is, I imagined it was like one union. You know, this, for example, this Elliott City store, they've now been added to the union. I'm imagining that's one big union, but I've I came across a piece in one of these articles where it goes into some of the unions haven't reached a deal yet, and so I don't know if there's like a Maryland union, and then a New York union, and that's how it's being broken out. And some of these unions haven't reached a deal yet, and so that leads us into this Starbucks union wants to enlist customers. So I guess some of the labor union leaders are going to take a tour around 13 sites specifically. I assume it's going to be the major cities like Chicago and I guess Philadelphia, or just 13 major cities, and they're going to try to get customers to help picket, to help push along this unionized labor contract in some of these places where it just hasn't been reached yet. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't really like that idea, but I'm sure it would be very effective if the union can get it to work. Uh, yeah, this is just a thorn in Starbucks' side that they're gonna have to somehow address this. And this next piece, it's not favorable, I would say, for Starbucks. So we have Biden, President Joe Biden, and the Senator Bernie Sanders met with young labor organizers from Starbucks at the White House on Monday, and this was just a couple days ago this week, as a growing number of worker strikes grip the country. So apparently Joe Biden is a big fan of unions. He feels like that's a way that these middle class workers, possibly lower class workers, can kind of get more for their work. This is his way. This is his understanding, is if they can kind of gather and get a better wage, that means they can pull money from, these big leaders like Starbucks, the big company. They can pull money from the top, bring it down into, the everyday workers, the baristas here. So Biden's kind of on board with this. So that may be the future here for Starbucks. Again, it's still in such an early stage with over like 9,000 stores under Starbucks, but only about 300 to 400 unionized. But this seems to be snowballing, and if Biden's backing them up, this could kind of double, triple over the years. We'll see once we get the financial statements how that's impacting. If they mention it specifically, I'd be very curious to see how Starbucks and the leaders view it from the financial statement standpoint. So next they announced their Q3 fiscal year results, or at least when they're going to announce it. They announce when they're going to announce it, which is scheduled to be on August 1st after market close. So we'll see very soon how those results are. And then the last article here before we pivot into the technical analysis is just shows what people are expecting at this point. So down here at the bottom, we show analysts are expecting Starbucks to post earnings of 96 cents per share, which would mark a year-over-year growth of about 14 to 15%. The estimate is calling for quarterly revenue of about $9.31 billion, which is again between 14 and 15%. So we'll see what the actual results are. Considering how close we are to the release date, I would imagine these figures are going to be pretty spot on. Uh, but of course, we'll see. And then as far as the full year goes, estimates for earnings are projected at $3.43 per share, and revenue is projected at $36.06 billion. In terms of the earnings per share, that would represent about a 15 to 16% increase. And then in terms of revenue, that's about 11 to 12% increase. Overall, very good. I mean, this company is well known. This is a value type stock, or what we are labeling as a value type stock. And to see those double-digit growth in the low teens, in this one case, about 11 to 12 percent gain in per share in terms of the full year. That's pretty good for a value type stock to see double-digit growth. So that's just one of the reasons why they made the list, and we want to continue following them. So before we pivot into the technicals, I think it'll be best to share this. This is our tracker sheet that just helps us stay organized. We have Starbucks here. Looks like last time we did end up buying this one. On June 8th, it was trading at $97. I felt like that was a decent time to buy, so we did. I had buy points marked at 81 and 97. Again, it was at 97, so I felt good about it. We had resistance points at 108 and 113. Again, we'll see if that needs to be updated. And then in our note that we left, we said it recently broke the uptrend that was started back in June of 22 up until May of this year. And we also noticed sideways consolidation between $97 and 108 that started back in December of 2022. So we'll see if those notes still are in effect, if they need to be updated, and we'll just see what's going on here. So here we have the chart, and clearly we can see that uptrend was broken. We had these purple uptrend lines in play, and then right around mid-May, that's when it broke. We kept it in on June 8th, and I'll zoom in here. So June 8th was right around here at 97. It looks like it was right here, like right at that green line. That's what we felt was a support line. And if we look back, we can see why. Once it crossed 97, it tried to pull back, but got stopped right around 97, pushed back up, came back down to 97. Again, it held its ground. Here, it actually broke. It actually broke and touched down to like 95, but it did climb back up. And that's not unusual. We've seen that before. And I think that's why we didn't remove our uptrend analysis or our uptrend statement here, because it was still, I felt like it was still early enough that this could pull back into that uptrend. But now that we're another month removed from it, it's getting to the point where that uptrend, it's probably done. I guess I'm going to leave it in for one more period, just to see if maybe when they release their financial statements, we get a big surprise, and maybe it'll rally back into that uptrend. But it's most likely over. So the note's already been updated to show it recently broke that uptrend. That is still true. It's still broken. I just want to see another, maybe like 2 more weeks to make it like official, and then I'm just going to remove that little comment. Sideways consolidation between 97 and 108 since December. So if we go back to this period, so once it crossed into $97 for a full week, which was the beginning of December, pretty much it just hung out between 97 and 108 since December of last. So we're talking like 8 months at this point. It's really just traded between that point, just consolidating. That still seems to be the case. And that's kind of how I'm playing it. If it were to break, hypothetically, through 97 and just start to plummet, it could get caught around like 81. I don't really think that's going to happen. I'm just scrolling back a little further just to see if we see any other spots of support or resistance. Um, Not too much, I would say. Uh, yeah, so for whatever reason, it's kind of just catching its breath. It had a nice rally. Now it's, just consolidating for a little bit. And hopefully we can see an uptrend form again in the near future. Because overall, this one's decent. It's been known to consolidate and then rally, consolidate. So, uh, yeah, we'll just keep watching it. I still think 97 is a decent price. We have a little more support because, again, this whole period really, since about June 8th, since then, yeah, overall it has increased to 101, but you can see it's been right around that line. It's gone up, pulled back, gone up a little bit, pulled slightly below, got an extra good deal if you purchased here, and now here we are at 101. So still within that range. I would say it's closer to the buy side, so I'd be okay to purchase this one, and I'll probably mark it that way. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty small window. Just 97 to 108, so like a $11 window. We are still closer to the buy half, so I'll list it like that. Um, but yeah, it's very close to being into fair value territory. In fact, it really kind of should be in that range. So I'll probably mark this one blue. I'd be okay with buying this one. I feel like it's close. The thing is, it's unless we set a reminder to ourselves to pick this one up at 97 or 98, um, it's very close to that point. And if we like this company in the long run, uh, that would be a good deal, 101. But let's just update this and see uh, if anything's changed. So we're going from $97 to 101 is the current price. We have buy points at 97. I still like that point. We also put 81, which I uh, mentioned earlier. That seems to be a spot of support going back into like September, into October. There was some support here. If I scroll back a little bit, we have a little bit more at 81. Kind of hung out there back in 2020. This period was also in 2020. I think 97 is a good spot. We also have this red line here of 108. We could maybe update that to be like a blue line, only because when I look back at the past, in terms of 2021, it that point like, and again, I picked that point only because of in more recent times, in like January and in February of this year, it couldn't get above that point. So that was, for whatever reason, it was resistance there. But when we look back, yeah, 113 is more so the resistance point, but 108, uh, it plays around that price point. So there's, I think maybe we'll leave it as it is for now. Um, but yeah, in terms of buy point, I still like 97. Resistance, 108 is probably, um, yeah, I guess, yeah, okay, we'll leave it. Um, we had resistance at 108 and 113, both those red lines. I said 113 was the more resistance point for me. So I guess with that in mind, I guess I will keep this one as a buy, because if we're going to factor that, that means the range is like $16 and we're only $4 above our buy point. So with that, yeah, I'll keep this one as a buy rating. It sounds like their projected financial statements are going to be good, so we'll leave it as is. I'll probably pick up maybe one or two more shares heading into the earnings, and we'll see how that plays out. Uh, so before I update this, let's see, recently, we can update the date here too. Recently broke the uptrend from June to May. Okay, sideways. Okay. Nothing else that I can really add at this. I guess one other thing that I try to do on these is just take a little educated guess on where I think this one will be at the end of the quarter. And I'm going to guess it's probably going to be in this range. I don't see why it wouldn't still be in this consolidation window. I'm going to make that gray just so it stands out. So yeah, in terms of the box, I mean, it's kind of right in the middle. But again, looking long term, I think this one's a pretty good play for us. And this might change, especially after earnings. But for now, I think that's a good estimate of where this one could be at the end of the third quarter, which would be end of September. But yeah, that wraps this up. So just as a quick recap for this one, Starbucks, currently it's trading at 101. We have buy points at 97 and 81, with 97 being our primary point of interest today, with resistance at 108 and 113, with 113 being the more stronger resistance point. So that is what we're more paying attention to. However, at 108, there is a decent amount of traction there. So once it gets to 108, I do imagine it will probably hesitate for a little bit, if not get rejected another one or two more times. Of course, we'll see how that plays out over time. And then the note that we left ourselves is recently broke that uptrend from June of 22 until May of 23. Just want to give that a little more time, especially after earnings. If that continues to trade sideways between that 97 to 113 range, we'll just take that out completely, because it's officially been just broken. It's not coming back. And then the sideways consolidation between 97 and 108 since December, that is still in effect. So that's really the range, 97 to 108. But just to give it a little more buffer, 113 is my point of interest. So if we scroll back out, 108, there was really just one point specifically of why I chose that one. There happens to be a little bit of resistance there, but 113, I mean, it hit its head there once. I would call that 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So 113 has more solid ground there. So that wraps this up. If you want to add any insights to any of the articles that I shared, please feel free to do that. That'd be helpful for me in terms of the next video and just understanding this company a little more. Or if you have questions for me, I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, that wraps this up. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.